Let's be honest. Politics can feel like a total storm of crazy headlines and nonstop hot takes. It's chaotic. But what if I told you that behind all that noise, there are proven ways to find some clarity? Well, today we're prying open the political scientist's toolbox to show you the exact frameworks they use to make sense of our world.
So let's get right into it. And seriously, forget what you might be imagining about dusty old textbooks. We're talking about a practical, hands-on toolkit packed with specific instruments designed to cut through the political chaos we all see every single day.
And this really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? When everything feels so random and unpredictable, how on earth can anyone study it systematically? It's a totally fair question, and it's the very reason this toolbox is so important.
And here is the core idea. Political science isn't about having just one magic formula. It's way more like having a whole toolbox. Each method is like a different tool, a wrench, a magnifying glass, a level, and each one is built for a specific job. It lets us look at the same problem from a bunch of different, really powerful angles.
Okay, so let's grab the first couple of tools from our kit. These are the big ones, the foundational tools. They help us get a handle on the deep roots and the grand ideas that have been shaping politics for, well, centuries.
First up, we've got the philosophical method. This is the oldest tool in the box. Seriously, it goes all the way back to ancient Greece. It's not so much about what politics is, it asks, what ought it to be? This method helps us wrestle with the huge concepts, justice, freedom, power, that our entire political systems are built on.
Next, we pull out the historical method. The idea here is simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You just can't understand what's happening today if you don't know the story of how we got here. With this tool, context is literally everything.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? If you want to make sense of a country's political battles today, you have to look at its history, its revolutions, its wars, its heroes, its villains. The past isn't really in the past. It's right here with us, shaping everything that's happening now.
All right, let's switch gears completely. We're putting away the history books for a second and picking up a different set of tools. These methods try to bring a more scientific approach to the whole thing, observing, testing, and measuring politics.
Now this one is really cool, the experimental method. Basically, it treats the entire world like a giant lab. Every time a government passes a new law or tries a new policy, that's a live experiment. Political scientists can then watch what happens and study the results to see what works and, maybe more importantly, what doesn't.
And then there's the observational method. So if the experimental method is like a chemist in a lab mixing things together, this is more like a biologist watching an ecosystem from a distance. The whole point is to not interfere. You just watch, you record, and you analyze politics as it happens naturally.
And here's a perfect example of how powerful just watching can be. The thinker Montesquieu, he just visited Britain and paid close attention to how its government actually worked. And from those observations, he developed his groundbreaking idea of the separation of powers, an idea that became a cornerstone of modern democracy, even making its way into the US Constitution, just from watching.
Okay, so we've looked at big ideas and scientific observation. Now let's grab the next set of tools in our toolbox, and these focus on the most complicated, most unpredictable part of any political equation: us, people.
The sociological method. This one uses a wide-angle lens. It works from the idea that you can't really get why people vote or act the way they do without first understanding the bigger social forces at play, things like class, religion, or the groups we belong to.
And what's amazing is how long this tool has been around. We're talking centuries ago. The incredible scholar Ibn Khaldun was already using this approach. He figured out how these social forces caused entire dynasties to rise and then fall, linking their fate directly to the health of their society.
Now, for a complete contrast, let's look at the psychological method. This one zooms way in. It suggests that at the end of the day, politics is all driven by what's going on inside our own heads. This tool looks at the motivations, the biases, and the emotions of individual leaders and voters to figure out why they do what they do.
So yeah, the huge difference here is really about scale. The sociological lens, it's like studying the entire forest to see how it's doing. But the psychological lens, that's about examining one single tree, trying to understand what makes it tick. Both are useful, just very different.
All right, for our final section, we're zooming back out again. These last few tools help us understand the formal frameworks, the official rules of the game that shape and direct all political action.
This is the juridical method. And just like the name suggests, it's all about the law. It breaks down a political system by looking at its constitution, its legal codes, and all its formal institutions. With this tool, the state isn't just a bunch of people, it's a legal thing, an entity defined by its own rules. And now for our final tool, the comparative method. You know, sometimes the absolute best way to understand your own system is to see how it stacks up against others. By putting different countries side by side, we can start to see what's unique, what's common, and why different rules can lead to totally different results.
And again, this is not some newfangled idea. We're talking thousands of years ago. Aristotle was basically the pioneer of this method. He famously studied and compared the constitutions of over 150 different Greek city-states, all to figure out what actually makes a government stable and successful. An incredible amount of work.
So after all that, why does any of this matter to you? Well, because this toolbox isn't just for academics, it's for you. It gives you the power to look past the shouting on the news, it gives you a way to understand where different arguments are coming from, and it lets you analyze any political issue from multiple, smarter perspectives. And that brings us to one last question, for you. Now that you've seen the whole toolbox, from the philosophical to the psychological to the comparative, which one of these tools do you think is the most crucial for making sense of the world we live in right now? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for exploring this with us.